Pero la señora está viva. Ah.
4 weeks after twin earthquakes devastated their home country, South Florida's Venezuelan community is still coming to grips with the tragedy.
It's been a nightmare these whole days because of the fact that we haven't found their bodies.
Y bueno, después de, obviamente, de ese día, comienza como que esta pesadilla, porque literalmente esto es una pesadilla.
Rescuers and volunteers continue to sift through the debris of hundreds of collapsed buildings and make heartbreaking discoveries.
They're on the stairs, like the stairs collapsed, they're here, they're there, but they don't know who are they.
Tonight, the stories of heartbreak and loss.
I couldn't believe it was mi abuelita. And I was like, no, please, no.
And what families are doing to hold on to the memories of those who died in Venezuela.
It's hard because we couldn't say goodbye.
Hello, I'm Lauren Pastrana. You're watching the CBS News Miami stream. It's been 4 weeks since 2 powerful earthquakes hit Venezuela on June 24th. Nearly 200 buildings collapsed, entire neighborhoods were flattened, and roads and bridges were heavily damaged. More than 5,000 people died in Caracas and La Guaira, with that number expected to rise as more bodies are recovered. Nearly 17,000 others suffered injuries. Here in South Florida, home to a large Venezuelan community, the past month has been excruciating for families. They wait for answers and do what they can to help those impacted, all while fearing the worst. Tonight, we introduce you to several people who suffered great personal loss in the earthquakes. They share their stories exclusively with CBS Miami to remember their loved ones and perhaps offer some consolation to others going through the same ordeal. We begin with Caro de Souza, who tragically lost her sister Susana in the disaster. Caro and her daughter, who live in Doral, spent nearly 3 agonizing weeks after the earthquakes waiting to find out any news about her sister. Helpless to do anything, she waited by the phone, hoping and praying for a miracle as her siblings and friends searched. My colleague Erica Gonzalez shares with us Caro's emotional story and the toll it's taken.
Sí, la primita de ella la llama llorando y le dice, un terremoto. Y yo, o sea, como que digo, ay, cosas de niño.
At first, Caro de Souza thought it was no big deal. Her daughter was talking on the phone with her cousin who lives in La Guaira when the earthquake hit.
Y en ese momento yo le mandé un mensaje a cada uno de mi familia, pero nunca les llegó los mensajes.
When she didn't hear from her family, she became worried. She frantically sent messages to her mother.
Mamá, le escribí, ¿estás bien? Por favor.
An hour later, relief. Her mom responded that her and Caro's father were okay, but they had not heard from Caro's younger sister, Susana. Not knowing what else to do, Caro kept sending messages to her sister, hoping to get a response.
Ese día, obviamente, todos preocupados. Yo sé que yo le mandé un montón de mensajes a mi hermana. El 25, a las 9 de la mañana, le mandé un mensaje. Necesito saber de ti. Y más nunca.
Susana was a real estate agent and wasn't at home when the earthquake hit. She was at an apartment she was preparing for a showing. It would be nearly 3 weeks before her body would be found. During that time, Caro and her family hoped for a miracle.
No sabíamos nada de ella, o sea, no se conseguía y nosotros teníamos la esperanza de que ella hubiese logrado salir y que, bueno, le hubiesen dado un golpe, estuviese en traumatología. La esperanza, ¿sabes? De que no nos importaba cómo, o sea, si hubiese estado golpeada, pero la queríamos de vuelta.
In the immediate aftermath of the quakes, a lack of heavy machinery and manpower hampered rescue efforts. Caro's brother spent weeks working with friends and neighbors to search for Susana. Eventually, her body was found.
Mira, Caro, si es Susana, y ya yo colgué porque yo estaba ahí sentada. Y bueno, yo estaba ahí y obviamente me puse a llorar y dije, ¿por qué ella? Mi hermana era muy dulce, muy buena. Mi hermana estaba para todo el mundo. Conocía a mucha gente y así ella no tuviese nada, si ella podía ayudarte, ella estaba. Siempre fue así. Y Y es eso, mi hermana siempre fue muy dulce.
Despite her grief, Gato wants people to know her brother and the others who formed makeshift search and rescue crews and showed true courage under fire.
Para mí, mis hermanos y todas las personas que estuvieron en el proceso son unos héroes, pero mis hermanos sobre todo, porque yo sé que también yo hubiese hecho lo mismo. Mi hermana chiquita, chiquita, tiene 21 años. Meterse en la morgue, ver cuerpos, ser valiente, arriesgarte. O sea, mi hermano ahí día a día viendo cómo otras personas también sacan de su cuerpo.
As she comes to grips with the tragedy, Gato finds comfort in her memories of Susana.
Y me acuerdo que siempre cuando mi papá llegaba del trabajo, mi papá se sentaba en la mesa y se sacaba los zapatos y las medias y los ponía ahí. Y ella venía todas las noches y le agarraba los zapatos y se los llevaba con las medias para el baño. Pero era ella, yo lo podía ver ahí ya, y no. Ya yo sabía que ella lo iba a hacer, ¿me entiendes? Era una persona muy noble, súper noble. Claro, tenía su carácter fuerte, pero era noble, siempre estaba para todo el mundo. Y creo que eso es algo que nosotros hemos heredado de mi papá, porque mi papá es así, o sea, para todo el mundo. Muy luchadora, muy luchadora. O sea, yo creo que ella tenía luchas que solo ella sabía. Y que bueno, nada, eso, que era una persona eso, dulce, luchadora, trabajadora y una excelente mamá y una muy buena hija, porque ella era siempre estaba muy pendiente de mis padres todo el tiempo.
Gato tells us her parents and other siblings may have survived the earthquakes, but they're struggling to move forward because of the immense loss they've suffered. Welcome back to our CBS News Miami Hope for Venezuela special. We continue to share stories from Venezuelans living here in Miami and their attempts to track down their family back in their home country. Dani Rios Suarez was the 2025 winner of Miss Latin America USA. She moved here from Venezuela 7 years ago, but many of her family still live back in Venezuela, including her beloved grandmother. Knowing her grandmother was in La Guaira, one of the hardest hit areas, Dani desperately reached out to friends so they could check on her grandmother.
And I remember that I called one of my friends and I told him, like, please, I'm gonna send you my grandmother's picture and her building, everything. And he was like, I'm not there, but I'm gonna send someone. I was posting on Instagram, please, if someone knows about this building, please. And someone sent me a message like on Instagram, like, that building is okay. And I was like, oh my God, okay, maybe she doesn't have power, whatever. So we sent someone who works with my mom in Venezuela to her building, like, we're gonna pay you, but we really need to see if she's okay. So he went, and then at that moment he called us. It was like the day after the earthquake, around like 12. Yeah, it was like 12 or 1. They told him that my grandmother was there. She was dying, that she didn't make it. And when I hear that, I was like, no, please.
After days of waiting, Dani received a heartbreaking update. Her grandmother's body had been found.
And I was like, I can't believe it. Mi abuelita, no, por favor.
Like thousands of others, Dani Rios Suarez suffered a devastating loss in the June earthquakes, the loss of her grandmother, her abuelita. Dani and her family are grateful for the volunteers who helped retrieve her grandmother's body so the family could have some closure.
I know it was hard to get her body, and we need like professionals. It's not for people like, okay, no, I know we need professionals. Like, we need machinery, and it's Venezuela, like we weren't ready for this.
But we are grateful because we have my grandmother's body now, because I know so many people do not have it.
And my family and I, we did the best to try to get her body, and 1 week after that, we get her body. 1 week after, it was hard.
As she works through her grief, Dani is holding on to the memories of her abuelita, including one memento she thought she had lost.
And there is a picture I had in my room with my abuelita when I born. She was like here with me, and I was crying because I couldn't find that picture, and I was like so mad at me because I was like, I don't know what, like, you know, that's what I have with my abuelita, like the memories, and I was like, I really want it, and they couldn't find it, and literally I called my dad because my abuelita who died is my dad's mom, and I called my dad. I was like, Papi, I'm so sad because I have this picture, and I know because I have a picture in my room, and that picture looks like very blurry, but it was there. And I was like, I have this picture, but they don't find them. And my dad was like, I have it. So yesterday they sent it to me. And I printed. It's hard because we couldn't say goodbye.
In the face of all that tragedy, there were also moments of relief. Danny had other family members in La Guaira at the time of the earthquakes who managed to survive. Her cousin and godfather. Her cousin, Leonardo, describes his experience on June 24th.
I lived on the 5th floor of a building. When the earthquake started, I was on the open ground floor, trading World Cup stickers with a friend. She went to her apartment to get a ball. Suddenly, everything started to shake. At first, I thought it was just a small tremor, but it quickly got much stronger. I saw the walls crack and pieces of concrete fall. I knew it was serious, so I ran and hid under a concrete table under there. The shaking was violent. When it stopped, I got out. I was injured with cuts in my hand and my knees, but luckily none of them were severe. The ground was covered in rubble and the building next to mine had completely collapsed. I didn't know how to escape, but then I saw my brother. He told me our parents were safe and that the stairs were fine. We ran down together and he took me to a safe street with the neighbors. That is how I survived.
Almost immediately after the earthquakes in areas like La Guaira and Caracas, survivors turned into rescuers. They had no choice. The devastation stretched for miles and heavy excavating equipment was nowhere to be found. It was one of those makeshift band of volunteers who helped save Danny's godfather, Jose Francisco Salcedo. Here is video of the moment rescuers found him and his mother buried in the rubble. Several hours after the initial quake, they had been trapped beneath a collapsed wall. Salcedo described the ordeal in a video he sent to his goddaughter after he was rescued.
A concrete wall fell on my foot, leaving me completely trapped and unable to move. My mother was trapped underneath me. We stayed under the debris for about 3 long hours, waiting in fear and hoping for somebody to rescue us, at least find us. Finally, some neighbors managed to enter the collapsed building. They spent almost another hour just pulling out heavy debris and concrete pieces to get to where we were. They were able to reach us and free us. They carried us out of the building because we were unable to get out of our own.
We are happy to report Salcedo and his mother are recovering from their injuries. There are roughly 180,000 Venezuelans living here in South Florida. Valeria Perdomo is among them. She lost her aunt and uncle in the earthquakes, 2 people she considered her second parents.
My mom was in shock. I started having a panic attack. She was scared because of me, but she couldn't believe they were there either.
Days later, Valeria received the message that their bodies had been found together in bed, hugging each other. Valeria tells us it was bittersweet news to hear because her aunt and uncle had always said they wanted to be together until the very end. Rescue officials were able to find her aunt and uncle's bodies and remove them from the rubble, but it was not an easy process. Much of La Guaira remains a disaster zone. As Erica Gonzalez reports, Valeria felt helpless being here in Miami as her family struggled back in Venezuela.
When he confirmed that and I saw the video, I started crying because I knew my uncle and my aunt were there.
When Valeria found out her uncle and aunt were in the building that had collapsed, she admits it has been hard for her to get back to her regular routine.
Being honest with you, I stopped everything. I stopped working, I stopped doing my routine, and I've been trying to get back. It's been a nightmare these whole days.
Valeria says that seeing her mom go through this is also very hard for her. She expresses her frustration about being in Miami and not being able to be there in person.
I have my mom, even if she's here, but she's devastated. And my mom is everything to me. So when I see her crying, when I see her being trying to get my aunt's body out and my uncle's body, it's like very frustrating because I can't do anything. I can be here for her, but nothing else.
She emphasizes the importance of having people like Gennaro Moreno, who's a specialist and is able to help without putting others at risk.
So since we can go back to the country, we have some family members that are helping us, but there is also someone, his name is Gennaro, and he is specialized on rescues because of earthquakes. Like, he studies this, so he's the one who is helping us with news, with rescue people, with tools, with everything that he may need. And that way, from here, we try to get donations and any help they may need.
Devastated by the news of her aunt and uncle, Valeria turned to her faith for comfort. As she lit a candle, she shares with us a moment that resonated with her.
So 5 days after we were trying to look for them and have answers, I just lit a candle and prayed for them. And it was something very, magical for me, because they were two, they both died, and at the beginning it was just one flame. But after I started praying and saying their names and really good words for them, it starts the second flame.
Valeria and Danny have dealt with the trauma of the past weeks by relying heavily on their friendship. They've been friends since they were children living in La Guaira. That friendship traveled with them as they both moved to and established lives here in Miami. That bond has become a lifeline for them as they lean on each other for support in the wake of this tragedy.
The friendships, our mothers, they all know each other, so it's like they're my family.
Yeah,
they're
it's
not
like
only
a
my
family.
friends.
We're
It's like a family.
We still keep in touch and we love each other and we support each other.
Yeah.
We literally text every hour.
Every day.
Every day since that happened, to see if they're okay, because we have two of them who live in Venezuela. They're living in Venezuela now. So we're trying to, to keep in touch with them, like, you're not alone, everything's gonna be okay. Like, we're here for you. Like, are you okay? Do you eat something today? How you feeling today? We're trying to keep in touch a lot with them, because, as we say, if we feel so bad here,
How do they feel in Venezuela that they lived the tragedy?
And they lost everything.
Yes.
So
one of our friends is living on the backyard because they are afraid of being inside of the house, just because we don't know what could happen. And since that day, it's been a lot of earthquakes, like a small one, but I would say every day it's been happening until now.
Still to come, equipment was in short supply and the damage was everywhere. How rescue crews pushed through in the earliest days on the ground. Nearly a month later, relief efforts to Venezuela continue in full force. Food and other basic necessities are in short supply. Michael Capone, the president of GEM, Global Empowerment Mission, recently returned after spending 18 days in Venezuela. He saw firsthand the devastation in that country and the challenges that lie ahead. Once again, here's Erica Gonzalez.
So we arrived a few days after the earthquake happened.
Michael Capone described the moment when GEM first arrived. He says the scale of destruction was massive.
For people that don't understand the scale and magnitude, it's we drove from maybe Miami Beach to North Hollywood, and when you drive down that whole beach strip, without exaggeration, 50% of it is rubble. And obviously there wasn't enough equipment. It was very dire in the beginning.
He mentioned how tense it was in the field and why the need to stay silent was so important.
You couldn't even drop a pin. Everyone was listening, you know, to see if there was, you could hear the car. They would make the main road, like the A1A, was completely closed, so the cars were being pushed because they couldn't turn them on because of the noise. Everyone with the motorcycles had to turn off their motorcycles and push the motorcycles.
Capone at first was unsure of what kind of greeting they would have received when they arrived for their first distribution.
By the time we had our first distribution, I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't know how it was going to be received. And when we would announce who we were and that we were from Estados Unidos, the crowd would just overjoyed, clapping and thanking us, you know, connecting with the satellites and stuff. I think our biggest issue here was the need is bigger than the response by far. It was like that deep, so it's like never ending, and that's because you have two different crises going on there. Our distribution methods, you can see in our videos, very, very calm. They were just, you know, very quietly waiting in line, sometimes for 3 hours, just to get a box of food to last a couple of days.
When asked about the hardship of Venezuela families staying in South Florida who cannot visit family in Venezuela, Capone says he believes one day that will change.
A lot of people will be able to travel. I think right now the government and the State Department is not, you know, capable of producing that many, you know, travel visas. There's such a backlog, right? So many different organizations, firefighters, everybody that had to be there, you know, tens of thousands of people processing all that. And I think eventually it'll stabilize more, and I think more people will be able to, you know, start traveling. And I think it's very important too, because their perspective, like Santi is a perfect example. Santi, our partner, right, comes from a very prominent family there, right? They have many businesses and shopping malls and everything. They're in that world, but they haven't been there either in, I think they told me 12 years. 12 years they have not been home, and she finally came home with me, right? That's already a gigantic step. I had to see her, say hello to her parents that they hadn't seen in years, you know, that were stuck there. So that's an amazing thing, and that's going to happen with Cuba too.
The people of Venezuela still are in dire need of immediate aid. CBS Miami and Neighbors for Neighbors have partnered with Global Empowerment Mission to help the people of Venezuela. You can scan the QR code on your screen to donate to GEM's Earthquake Relief Fund. We'll be right back. The tragic earthquakes in Venezuela have left many people and families devastated. Before we leave you, we wanted to share something Caro de Souza said about the importance of not letting the hectic nature of life keep you from reaching out to the people you love.
Y sí, nosotros teníamos muy buena relación, pero obviamente aquí la vida es muy acelerada. Estás pendiente de que la luz, el carro, la renta, la niña, ¿sabes? La vida. Sí. Entonces te olvidas de una llamada, un mensaje. Y lo vas dejando y sin querer dices mañana, 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 y resulta que mañana no es seguro.
Thank you to everyone who shared their stories, and thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening.